Hi, this is Carlos Hurtado, and I'm going to be reading my negation case on the following resolution. Resolved, the United Nations should adopt a resolution declaring or demanding an end to the annual dolphin hunting in Japan. Contention 1. The UN is taken away from Japan unnecessarily. Subpoint A. The Japanese have been eating dolphins for hundreds of years. Though this huge dolphin drive is relatively young compared to the traditional of eating dolphins, it doesn't change one fact. The Japanese population has been eating these animals, what they say are big fish. Japan Focus 2012. This tradition is comparable to the Chinese and Koreans eating dogs. You don't see the UN going around telling China and Korea to stop eating dogs. What is the difference? There is none. Contention 2. The UN is a joke. The only time the UN was able to deal effectively with aggression was in the Korean War. That was a result of the nationalist Chinese in Taiwan having the permanent seat in the UN Security Council and the Russians getting mad and walking out. Without a veto, the resolution to stop North Korea was passed. Today, China has a seat formerly held by Taiwan, and the Russians now have the rule that even Russia janitors can go in and veto whatever the U.S. wants to do, and even that in the UN and the USA settled to draw on North Korea. Therefore, the UN is irrelevant and ineffective, especially considering the UN wants to take away from a tradition that happens in Japan. Contention 3. Animals feel pain is irrelevant. What matters is that if animals have propositional attitudes towards their pain. Pain perceptions in mammals, at least, is underlain by two distinct nervous pathways. So-called the new path is FAST, projects a number of different sites in the cortex and is responsible for pain discrimination, location, and feel. It is the pathway that gives the rise in humans to the felt qualities of pain. The old path, in contrast, is comparatively slow. Projects have more ancient subcortical structures in the limbic system of the brain, and is responsible for pain motivation it is. This is what makes our pain to stop. Some analytics, like morphine, suppress the old path while leaving the new path fully functional. Subjects will say that their pain feels just the same to them, but they no longer care. What they are aware of now is just a sensation. It is no longer an awful sensation. Such people are no longer appropriate objects of sympathy, surely. Of course, one of them might be sympathetic for any physical damage that has occurred, because of its likely future effects on the life of the agent, but is another matter. Not only is there an obligation on us to try to make the remaining pain sensation stop, but it seems that doing so would be morally completely neutral, because the pain sensation stop would be doing the subject any sort of favor. What makes pain or anything awful, then, is the object of negative desire. Phenomenal conscious is irrelevant to its status. Note that these points would motivate some kind of preference, utilitarianism over any form of utilitarianism in moral theory. It would be absurd to insist that people in our example above is undergoing something bad, at least assuming that there is no physical damage in addition to pain sensation, despite the fact that he doesn't care, and the claim made here probably generalizes, for there are powerful arguments for thinking that things that an event count as valuable depend ultimately on our desires, values, and preferences. The question that we need to ask, therefore, isn't whether animals are capable of phenomenally conscious experience, but whether they can subject to propositional attitudes, especially desires and goals. I will be going on to my opponent's case. In the contention 1, they say dolphins have rights, which makes it unfair to kill them. He gives an example of a mom looking for her calf and committed suicide. Dolphins know what they can feel, and dolphins have the entitlement. But in my contention 3, I talk about not only do they not they do not understand the phenomenal way of pain. They don't feel pain as much as the way humans do. What it's saying is it isn't whether animals are capable of phenomenally conscious experience, but whether they are subjects of propositional attitudes, especially desires and goals. None of the animals, obviously dolphins, don't have desires and goals like humans do. So we shouldn't consider them like humans, especially like what he talks in his contention 1, that they also have rights. But therefore, they're animals. Animals don't necessarily have rights. And and so going on to his contention 2, the cost of Japan, he talks about how Japan could bring extinction to the dolphins in Taiwan, but that is not true, because in past years it has gone down in the dolphin killings. Less dolphins are being killed each year, and in 2012 only 800 dolphins were killed. So, I mean, it definitely is going down. So Japan is not going to cost Japan much. Plus, dolphin hunting isn't a big part of Japan's economy. So therefore, stopping the hunt could bring international backlash. That is the subpoint B. He talks about the U.S. and British and how it might being a backlash between the two. But we're not talking about the U.S. in this point. We're not talking about Britain. We're talking about the UN and whether they should intervene. And so my contention 2 pretty much talks about